Alright, what's going on? Going to be talking about a monster ranking I made for the special legendary monsters. These guys are ranked by, I believe, like the stage you can get them, the stage you can upgrade them, pretty much throughout the early, mid, late end game, or, from whenever you are able to get them. So to get started in the S tier, unrivaled, best unit in the game, I'd say, would be Hellhound. Ridiculous damage boost. I believe it's about 60,000% damage boost, something crazy like that. Vital in the elemental challenges. You can't progress in the end game without them. Also really, really strong in the nightmare levels. You can't really go wrong with these guys, and ifrit is just even better because he's hellhound, except he does more damage and he costs less to upgrade. Next up in A tier, these guys are going to be solid in the stages of the game you're going to get them. Overall just strong monsters that you can't really go too wrong with. So you got Evolved Archimedes, can be used as a secondary carrier, replacement carrier for Jiraiya in Volcano Goddess, also used in maximum efficiency JR farming, so going to be really good for that. Slime King is going to be your one-way ticket to beating JR hard easily, quickly, and making it like very cost effective, I'd say. Can also be a 2-second stun in the end game, maybe as like a 8th or 9th unit, just to add some more CC to your setup. Next up, Death Bite. This guy can definitely help in some nightmare levels. If your carry is not super strong, like if you're not using a mythic carry, you're using something like a Felina, you don't have her fully leveled. But I think the more significant use for Death Bite that's often overlooked is that you can be comboed with Anubis to one-shot anything in like any stage of the game, right? Provided you have both of them, right? Mainly going to be used in the elemental challenges. Anubis marks the target, Death Bite ults them, boom, one shot bosses. Even if they're not one-shotting, cut down HP a lot. Death Bite, very solid unit in the late to end game. Next up, Felina. I talked about Felina in a prior video, how she's overshadowed by mythics now, and when to use her, if she's still good or not. But just to sum up my thoughts on her, I'd say she's a good fallback option if you want to beat nightmare levels. If you don't have a mythic, right? She's just great, solid fallback option. The game has changed a lot, but she hasn't changed a lot, right? So she's still gonna be there for nightmare levels, just not gonna be your first priority for them anymore. But considering how luck based it is to obtain mythics, Felina is still just a solid carry for the nightmare levels. All right, next up, you got Crispy. So Crispy doesn't really have any significant use in the game other than being used in maximum efficiency classic level farming. And that's why he's in B tier. That single-handedly carries him up to B tier because as you do more and more runs, he's going to save you a lot of time in every run. A few seconds every run, it'll add up and it'll definitely make an impact. Next up, Archimedes. Sort of similar to Slime King in the end game in that, nice full 2-second map stun. A little bit worse than Evolved Archimedes because her ability doesn't do damage before she is evolved. But yeah, still overall solid unit, can be used in any stage of the game, doesn't need to be upgraded because she is just there for that 2-second full map stun without damage. All right, next up, you got Frostbite. Nice stun in the early to mid game, I'd say. Just 4 seconds, AoE. Not guaranteed to hit everything, not guaranteed to miss everything. Pretty solid overall. Gonna help you progress through the game. Same sort of situation with Ashe, not the best stun out of everything, but not a bad stun either, and can definitely make your comp stronger. And then, third unit that sort of applies to this is Blitzcharger. Now, Blitzcharger used to be way better before permastalling got nerfed, but now permastalling is nerfed. Blitzcharger's not really used that much in endgame setups, I'd say. And it's just overall, a decent stun now. Better than a lot of other stuns out there. Can't really go wrong with her. Next up, Kevin. Reason Kevin's on an A tier is because the main purpose of Kevin is to accelerate your early game, right? Accelerate your early game so that you can beat JR normal, you can get Slime King, you can start upgrading him instead. And so he's still a pretty good unit for that purpose, but I think after you do obtain Slime King, Kevin doesn't really help that much anymore, right? You're going to be focusing on Slime King, Mighty, Speedy instead, and then going into, Mythics or Felina or whatever. Kevin's kind of going to be forgotten about after JR normal, which is why he's in B tier. Still, great in the early game, though. Probably the best early game monster, just pre-Slime King. Okay, next up, Double Archangels. They're here because they are solid stuns throughout, pretty much all of the game. And the reason they're up pretty high here in the B tier, I'd say, is because number one, as with all stuns, you don't need to upgrade them. I have no idea why I said that, because that applies to everything else too. But they can be used in elemental challenges as well. Ice is less commonly used, but Lightning Archangel is pretty frequently used in high efficiency IQT farming setups. I'd say these guys, you know, not quite enough use to be in A tier yet. Considering that they are usually your 8th or 9th units in elemental challenges, you know, you're not going to be like, oh, how am I going to beat IQT? Oh, I need that electric archangel, right? You're going to be looking at Zeus instead, right? So I'd say high B tier, not quite an A tier yet, just because they don't serve too many purposes. All right, next up, C tier. You got Puppy, again, sort of like Kevin, but a little bit worse, just to accelerate your early game, but he's not as strong as Kevin. For the purpose of doing that, Lightning guy, he's a decent stun, not very consistent, definitely less consistent than the other stuns in B tier, which is why he's in C tier. Okay, next up, you got the Evolved Ash and the Evolved Frostbite, right? And you're probably wondering why they're all the way down in C tier. You know, they should be even stronger versions of these units, right? But as I was saying before, I want to talk about the units in the stages of the game that you can get them. And when you are able to obtain these units, it's usually going to be in post-elemental challenges, I'd say, when you are attempting elemental challenges. And so when you think about, you know, when you're going to use them after you are able to evolve them, after you are able to consistently farm elemental challenges, you know, they don't really serve much of a purpose other than being an 8th or a 9th unit. And with that being said, you know, they're not really going to be that worth it to go for the evolution, right? Instead of Ash, you know, you prioritize Hellhound first, of course, or even like a Mr. Flamey. You know, these guys, they're stronger than their non-evolved forms. But I think, you know, when you look at them in the stage of the game where you can actually get them, they're not going to be that great, not going to be that worth to go for. You know, they would be a lot better if you could use them in the early game, right? Early mid game, like Ash, like Frostbite, but you can't. You need to use them in the end game. And, you know, because it is the end game, there are just better units out there compared to these guys, which is why they're in C tier. All right, next up, you got D tier to Hot Garbage. None of these guys you should really want to use, be excited about getting, leveling. These are all pretty bad. I have Limzard, Monkey, and Mummy Guy here. They are in D tier because they do provide some sort of CC, right? They have some, like, very awful purpose to be used as a stun if you're, like, desperate for good stuns, right? Or if you're just desperate for stuns, not for good stuns. And Mummy doesn't even stun, he just slows. So you never really want to use these guys, but, you know, there are situations where you do use them as, you know, a stun or a slow, which is why I put them in D tier and not in Hot Garbage tier, because they have, like, one very niche purpose. Next up, you got Hot Garbage tier. Now, the reasons all these guys are in here, you know, very mediocre damage, and they are damage focused units, right? So when you have a damage focused unit that is not good at doing damage, of course they're going to be bad. Gabriel, no element attached to him, expensive to upgrade, doesn't do very good damage. Hot Garbage tier, really not that great. Same sort of thing with Malik or whatever this guy's called. He has the fire element. You still don't want to use him in KPR. Never worth it to upgrade any stage of the game. Darkwing, Evolved Darkwing, same thing. They look like they'd be fire units. They're not fire units, so they can't even be used in KPR. Just very bad units, and it's definitely not worth it to go for the evolution on Darkwing. Cronus, again, fire unit, but not very good damage. Pretty bad. And then Rudolph, right? The big downside with these guys is also that they're expensive to upgrade. Rudolph is cheap to upgrade, but Rudolph is still not good, because in the stage where you do want to upgrade Rudolph, which would be pre-Slime King, there are so many better carries out there. Stacky's better. I'd say, where is he? Jack can also be better. Of course, Infernus is better. You know, the carries above are better. You know, level 10 Mythic is better. There are just so many things better than Rudolph. He's just not that great as a unit. Yeah, that's going to be all the legendaries and specials ranked. This is a remake of one of my older videos, but, you know, I think I got somewhat better quality on my videos now, so I thought I'd just reiterate my thoughts on this again. And yeah, it's going to be it for this video. Like, subscribe, and see ya.